So what do you need to play in this position to win? In this position, if white plays rook c8, then black king goes to h7 and the king runs away. And the game is a draw. Same for rook h3 as well. The king moves to g8 and the king runs away. And the game is again a draw. So the move is the elegant bishop to b2, preparing our bishop for the discovered attack. In this position, black doesn't have so many options. Here, if the black rook tries to give a check on a6, then we have rook to a3, a discovered check, and we pick up the rook. Same for rook f1, we have rook to c1. And if the king tries to come to g7, then we have rook to f3, and this is a pin, and we pick up the rook in the next move. If the king moves to g8, then we have rook to g3 check, and in the next move we pick up the rook and we win the game. Same for king h7 as well. We'll play rook to c7 and the bishop will pick up the rook. What if he plays rook to g6? Then we have the beautiful mating attack, rook to c8, king h7 and rook to h8, checkmate. If rook f7, then we have rook to h3, king g8 and rook h8, checkmate. But here black plays a solid rook to f8. You cannot play rook f3 check because the king will come here on g8 and protect the rook. Same for rook h3 as well. And if you try to play rook g3, then he would simply play king to g7, and after rook g7 check, he has king to h6 when the king runs away. So again, what's the winning move here? Here, white plays the only winning move, rook to c7. This is a discovered check, and the king cannot come to the 7th rank as well. King must go to g8. And then we play rook to g7, check on the king, and the king has to move to h8. And this is the windmill structure, which is a part of discovered check. Now it's still not easy because if you play rook f7, he has king to g8 check. So anyways, the king is going to protect the rook. So what do you play here? If you need to find the correct move here, you need to get the correct idea first. Just imagine, instead of white's move, it's black to play. So what will black play here? Rook to a8, we have rook a7 discovered check. Rook to f2, we have rook to g2 check. Rook to g8, we have rook to b7. Rook blocks the check, and then we pick up the rook with the bishop and we win the game without doing the stalemate. Just imagine if rook to f5, then we have rook to g5. But if black plays rook to f1 check, then we cannot play rook g1, as that is a check on the king. So rook f1 is the only problem, and we also need to change it to black to play from white to play. That's why white here plays the beautiful king to a2. And after this, any move that black plays will be met with a discovered check on the king. You might try any move and white is winning. So can you tell me what will happen if the black rook goes to h6 instead of f8? If you have found the answer, then write it in the comment box. And don't forget to like and subscribe.